Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Our text for today is the gospel just read. Jesus calms the storm and heals the multitudes. How we look at Jesus determines whether we are receiving him in faith or in fear. It's far easier, of course, to see the fear than it is the faith. In our text today, we have two groups of people that look at Jesus very differently. On the one hand, we have the disciples. These are Jesus' closest followers. They are the ones that should get him if anyone is going to get him. And on the other hand, we have the multitudes. The people, the crowds, all of those in the cities and towns and villages where Jesus walks among them and does what he does. So the disciples had just seen Jesus feed the crowd of 5,000 more people. They have been witnessing his miracles, hearing his preaching for some time. And yet they don't recognize him when they see him. They're out on the waters, and the text says that the wind was going painfully against them. And so Jesus comes to them, but they can't recognize him for who he is. The people, on the other hand, when Jesus comes to them, they recognize him immediately. And they go and scurry and find their friends and neighbors and anybody who has any problems, and they bring them to Jesus, even in the hopes that maybe this person can touch his garment, touch the hem of his cloak, and be healed. They are ready for Jesus to be there. And the one, he comes at night, and the other, he comes bright as day. The disciples, the text says, are astounded and hardened because they did not understand the loaves. The crowds, on the other hand, are healed, forgiven, restored, and brought to health. So, how and where do you look for Jesus? What is your expectation of him today? What is he going to do for you? What is your relationship to him? Do you believe that God is on your side? Do you believe that God is the one who comes to you this day to bring healing, forgiveness, and life? Or do you believe that God is like the ghost that the disciples thought they saw? Do you believe that God simply comes at night doing who knows what, and it may or may not be good for you? That is sometimes how we can feel about God, especially in the midst of suffering and tragedy and hardship. I'm sure that our friends in the Reading area are feeling that right now. So how is it that you look and see God? Well, God uses signs to point us to his true and final purpose for us. You remember back in the Old Testament reading where we heard about Noah at the end of the flood? God put a rainbow, a bow in the sky, so that every time people looked at that bow in the sky, they would remember his promise never to send a flood to the earth again. Not to cover the whole earth. We could maybe use a little bit of the flood right now. Just not that much. But that was the promise. That was the sign. So you looked at the sign and you knew what God had promised for you. Today, God works in signs and wonders as well. Only it is more than just a rainbow in the sky. God works through the sign of his word. through preaching, through baptism, through the Lord's Supper, through the hand of forgiveness, of absolution. God works through all of these signs so that you know and can trust who he is and what he does for you. That your God is the God who loves you with an everlasting love. That your God is the God who died on the cross for you and rose again from the dead so that you might live and be with him for all eternity. And so God gives you these signs, only it is not just a reminder sign. This isn't like a stop sign that you can kind of look at and think, oh, that'd be a good idea. But rather, these signs actually give you Jesus himself. This is my body. This is my blood. I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. That through these signs, God's purpose and intention and desire for you is made clear. He wants life, real life, abundant life given to you so that you will live not just for a little while until the next problem comes, but so that you will live forever in him. Understand this. Understand how God promises these things and delivers these things to you helps us to look and understand the trials that we face each day. Because it's very easy to look at the trials and think that's the end of the story. That's all God has to say. But that is not the end. That is not finally what God has to say to you. God's words to you are the words that he gave to those disciples, even when they were not believing. It is I. Don't be afraid. Here I am. And the word and work that he did to those crowds. Notice that even when the disciples were uncertain and disbelieving, Jesus still calmed the storm. Did you catch that? Even when they didn't get it right, when they messed up as they do, as we do, God was still at work, loving and caring for them. So this day, come and receive the one who gives himself to you. Receive the signs that he has given. Trust in his word and promise, because it is what will bring you life everlasting, and it is what will help you to look and see where God is at work in the world already. In Jesus' name. And now the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds in true faith to life everlasting.